issues or indirectly pursuing partnerships with the organizations who have specific interests in this. I retain small hope that they might still be interested in getting a better bug process going, so that when those organizations have a change that they something they wish the software did, that people would be responsive to that.
Actually, that's a very good point, because we have not just software bugs, but education bugs.
It's along the lines of you can get a horse to water, but you can't make it.
Yeah, but I have a question about that. We know how to file bugs, or at least I do. I know how to file bugs on sugar development, base sugar development for the XO. I do not know how to file bugs on a sugar package running in Ubuntu. Ubuntu doesn't want to know, and nobody here wants to know, and I don't know, don't necessarily.
Yeah, Ubuntu has its own bug tracker.
Well, it's possible to file something, but you know they can't fix it because we have to go back to the source code of the main.
It's referring, I think, to the doxo handles, not much to packages.
I'm just not getting any response to any of my attempts.
Question for you guys on that, like the education bugs and stuff like that. So if a teacher's out in the field and stuff like that, how does it come back to you, or what I guess the question we have from the field is what form do you need it in, or what's the user form, or
right.
So if I'm in a third grade classroom and it's just broken down right here and I want to send you guys a message, one, how does the teacher first send it to you, and then what form do you sort of need it in so it's actually actionable right. for you guys to do something about?
And the problem is we haven't even created the beginning of that process.
Okay, so the food,
much less make it accessible in the appropriate language.
So we have to create a complete feedback.
Yes, we have to have a design for a site where somebody who actually knows what kind of issues will arise designs the form to be able to report it.
To more directly answer your question, presently today there are two or three different mechanisms which are in active use. So one of them is that the country deployments that OLPC partners with tend to create some kind of tech support structure. In Uruguay, it's a very thoroughly developed one. It's less developed in other places that have communications with much higher latencies than we do. Anyway, for large deployments, OLPC has a tech support organization which does sort of detailed work when they learn problems that are critical to deployments. So for critical issues like, you know, all of the XOs in my classroom are dying, one appropriate venue for raising that concern is to go through the tech support organization that the deployment constructed, and for that deployment to document the issue to the satisfaction of the OLPC's tech support partner, at which time we will certainly work on it post-haste. A completely different approach to doing this is to recognize the fact that all of the software, that we're all free software developers, and we have some conventions according to which we do development. So if you go directly to the mailing list, IRC channels, and bug tracker, one can certainly file bugs in those. And we have a long-standing, but I guess not very well publicized policy that we welcome bugs in whatever language they come from, and we'll find a translator for them if need be.
So,
do both of those things seem accurate, Scott?
It's also technically possible to get a first cut translation using something like that.
Absolutely. That's in part why.
In which case, you can at least have some idea what the bug is about and give it to somebody to translate who knows the terminology.
Yeah.
And well, there's again my mantra, usability issue somehow, somewhere, because I personally have never filled a bug because I don't know where to start. Yeah, which it will take me probably 5 minutes to actively look for it and figure out the user interface. I mean, it's not.
So you have it coming in on my IRC channel, what to say if the bug tracker or whatever that may be. Now, I see a third grade teacher somewhere not really going to that channel. So is there more of a template interface that they can stick that into that still gets you guys
the answer so far is that the tech support in the country has a process.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we don't know what that is, and it's different per country.
The difficulty, so the difficulty that we face here is one of being overwhelmed by material that we can't deal with. It places a very real and very high cost on the people who maintain the bug database to respond to lots of low-quality edits. I was the person who was doing that for some time, and before me, Jim spent hours and hours, as did Greg, who was Sheen, and Kim, and a few others. So, there's a present feeling that we don't know how the system could be sustainable without a filtration process. And the two filtration processes, so I described the positive form of how bugs get recorded. The negative form of how bugs get recorded, or maybe more precisely, which bugs don't get recorded are the bugs which can't be described in sufficient detail, which don't come with reproducible recipes, which you can't convince the deployment tech support team are sufficiently serious to warrant the attention of their contacts, or which, and of course the ones which I guess I'll say are ideologically suspect according to the specific ideologies of each of your interlocutors. They just never get past things. So we've thought in the past, for example, about adding a complain button to the user interface, that you would, you'd hit this button and it would take a screenshot and try to wrap up some logs and upload it to some collection facility. If you have network access, otherwise it would tell you where the log, put the logs in the journal, or just give you the location of them and explain how to transfer them to a USB stick. We thought about doing this. We made some designs for that, but we could never really convince ourselves that it was a worthwhile thing to
that it will be manageable.
Yeah, that anyone would ever read.
Well, of course, I use software that does that. And,
that anyone would ever read.
And I appreciate it when I can see that the organization has resources to deal with this flood of information coming in. Yeah. And we obviously don't. So, one of those funding questions. I would like to see OLPC.
It's partly a funding question, but I view it more as a clarity of communication question. Because there are plenty of projects out there that have, well-loved bug databases. Part of why they have well-loved bug databases is because they manage to explain clearly what's supposed to be in them and what high-quality bugs look like. And moreover, they do a good job of training people to help improve the quality of issues there. There are lots of places that are well known for their janitors lists and their use of new volunteers in partnership with older volunteers for providing tech support.
Yes. I've tried to talk to managers about that in commercial settings, and I almost never get any. Well, it worked once. That we got somebody who could handle the obvious, simple work and learn a bit of the more advanced stuff going along. But almost nobody believed in that. They preferred to pay us high-paid specialists to do everything.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Does it give you a basis to pursue the question further?
Yeah.
What's that basis?
That a feedback loop needs to be created, and this sort of goes back to my university model, where if you have a U.S. university working with a university in-country, that a lot of the low-level bugs that you guys don't want to handle probably could be handled by the computer science education departments between those universities, and then that top 20% of the high-level bugs will be passed on to OLPC Sugar Labs. So there is, and you create at that point with the university model with some funding from local whatever, a sustainable model that's there year after year after year.
And I have some practical concerns about that idea,
Okay.
which essentially relate to the second half of the feedback loop. So part of the reason why I got myself involved in release management in the first place for 8.2 was because I came to feel two things. One of which was that